Hey, Matty.
Hey there.
Thank you for taking the time today to be able to have this little kind of interview breakdown of Colosseum. Hoping it's going to create some really cool content to be able to make sure to share out, get everyone on Solana excited to be building for it.
Sounds good, man. Let's do it.
Beautiful. Okay, cool. So everyone in Solana kind of knows a little bit about the hackathons that have been going on. They've seen Colosseum. They've seen the big hype that's been generated. But if they haven't seen yourself, Matty, would you tell us a little bit about who you are and the role that you've played bringing this into fruition?
For sure. Well, first of all, happy to be here. Thanks for the invite. So yeah, about myself, I've been in crypto for a while. I worked in the Ethereum ecosystem for a bit at a project called 0x, which is one of the first decentralized exchanges. And then when Solana went to mainnet in 2020, I joined the Solana Labs team as their head of growth and just working to help kickstart the developer and startup ecosystem on Solana. That kind of led to the discovery and sort of doubling down on our hackathon program. So the first hackathon was called Wormhole. And there was this project called Wormhole. There was this bridge that was going to come out that was going to connect Solana and Ethereum initially, or to EVM basically. And so we were like, oh, let's run a hackathon around that. Unfortunately, Wormhole was never released in time. And so we just decided to just adopt the name anyways and run a general purpose online hackathon. And immediately, at the time we got 60 project submissions, which was a ton for the Solana ecosystem in 2020. And so we just thought, oh, there's some magic here. We need to explore this, keep evolving the program. And so I've been leading that from the beginning. And we've run 8 hackathons to date. And that's kind of led to Colosseum becoming an independent organization and adding this accelerator and venture fund attached to this program. So happy to jump into the details.
Yeah, no, exactly. And you described it there, Colosseum's made up of these 3 different pillars. The hackathon is the opportunity, the accelerator as a support, and then the venture fund is the capital piece to be able to bring that all together into what some may say is the Y Combinator of Solana. I'm curious to hear, tell us your sort of views on how that breakdown sort of looks and what you're most excited for there.
Yeah, so that's been something people have mentioned a lot, is it's sort of the YC of Solana or crypto. Our general opinion is that YC is awesome. I don't think the tech startup world would be near where it is today without, Y Combinator. And so our general belief is that there's only one YC, YC is the next YC. So we're trying to kind of forge our own path and create something new and something a lot more specific to the crypto open source ecosystem. And so you can think of this as sort of like a YC, except instead of a college style written application, you have to go win our 5-week online hackathon. And we think that's a much better way of sort of evaluating talent early on. And so that's one pretty big wrinkle of what we're doing. The second bigger piece is that we have built out this whole platform that sort of connects all 3 pillars, as you mentioned. One is sort of focused on the pre-hackathon support. So it's a place where people can sign up for an account, create a profile, find basically your co-founding team by searching profiles in the directory, and then also finding your idea, right? We have this whole product forum where people are posting product ideas before the hackathon, and people are matching with potential co-founders. And so we're trying to bring a central place to go form startups before hackathons actually start. We want this process of finding your people, building the product idea that you want to go pursue for the next decade, win the hackathon, get accepted into our accelerator, get some venture funding to feel comfortable leaving your full-time job and go pursue this. And then obviously through the accelerator program, which a lot of the features are also in a private section on the same application, we'll basically get people hopefully from DevNet closer to mainnet by the time we run our demo day, and they can raise a proper seed round.
The exciting piece of if you want to now launch on Solana, Colosseum is that launchpad. It's the way you're able to break in. And what I found with a lot of Solana supporters, be it investors as well as the users, is they want to support a team that's shipping, pushing things forward. So what you've got to see with Tensor, they've had a huge growth because they built that reputation for being shippers in the space. And the Colosseum Hackathon's giving them the opportunity to kind of show that. to everybody before they go their round, before they move on to that next opportunity. And so it's exciting to see like that hackathon piece getting the additional wrap-up support so then they can have that full launchpad into the space.
Yeah, and I think you mentioned Tensor. I think that's a good example of the exact founder profile and way that they were executing even well before, they're known as being like one of the fastest shipping teams in crypto. They were one of the fastest shipping teams we've ever seen in multiple different hackathons. And so it was pretty clear to us that they were going to be successful as startup founders. And we've seen a lot of those teams, struggle to get funding, especially recently. And so we feel that we can kind of step in and give them the support, and the bridge to get to the point where they can raise a proper seed round.
No, exactly. And I think that then that is a big part of why hackathons are working, especially when you add this accelerator and venture fund piece at the end of it to create that whole package. But I remember a couple of years ago, people were against the idea of the hackathon, saying, no, you should focus on TVL, like that's your opportunity to be able to grow into. Like how are you feeling now looking back on that whole palaver that kind of happened to where we are now, where it's like, no, it's clear that hackathons are a great opportunity and where a chain should be able to put their attention towards?
I think this is something that, the Solana Foundation and myself gave a lot of thought around, where there's always this push and pull between, do we grow the total number of founders and startups building in the ecosystem, because that's good for competition. Competition breeds better products, and better products, are more attractive to more users, right? And so do you focus on that versus like, we already have an existing group of really good developers and founders? How much time do we just spend supporting them and trying to get them to their goal versus just creating potentially a lot of competition for them? And so I've always kind of been, more supportive of the former rather than the latter. And so I just don't think we're getting enough shots on goal with building breakout startups in crypto. I think people are always saying like, oh, where is the killer app? Where's the killer app? Well, you just need an order of magnitude more people trying to build the killer app in order to see it. And so I think the founder ecosystem in crypto is still pretty small, and we hope that Colosseum can help drive orders of magnitude more quality builders in the space.
Yeah, and then we're talking about that quantity gets to the quality, but if we then focus on that piece of quality for a second, of when these founders are submitting, what are you looking for? What does a quality submission in Colosseum look like to you?
It's kind of multiple different components. One is, obviously you have to have some good idea. I think this is where a lot of people get frustrated, is where they've coded so much during the course of the hackathon, but they've done it for an idea that's just never going to work, most likely. And so it's not about how much you do. It's often like, do you start with a good product idea? And then it's like, okay, well, tell us about the product vision. Why is this going to be, the next big application or next big infra play in crypto? And then why is your team equipped to do it? So having good founder market fit. Do you have expertise in this specific market? Can you execute on this broader vision? And then obviously third, it is like a lot of people's first engineering sprint. And so we do take a very deep look into the demo that you created, the GitHub repo that you submit. And so it is sort of a combination, I guess, of an engineering, event and competition, which is what a traditional hackathon is, plus this added kind of is this a good business idea? So it is sort of a business competition as well.
Yeah, you get to say that it's that business competition, but we're testing you. We're making sure that you can be able to make it in the Solana space by shipping and actually showing that you're here to build. Because a lot of people may submit into it, no intention of doing things afterwards. So you've got to be able to put that line on, you've got to be able to build something great, be able to showcase that business use case, the model that kind of allows it to actually hopefully become a unicorn within the Solana ecosystem. And the team there has to be key to be able to help make that, bring it into reality.
Yeah, I think that's a good thing just for the Solana ecosystem generally, is to have this sort of proof of work. Did you actually go build something in the ecosystem rather than saying you did? But it's also good for us as an accelerator and venture fund, where we have a thesis and a hypothesis that if accelerators, instead of just accepting teams based on a college-style written application and interview, they watched how they built through the first 5 weeks of their accelerator program, they would make very different decisions on who to support. And so we want to make sure that we're backing and supporting teams that are like actually really committed to have the ability to go ship quickly and find product market fit.
I agree. And like, if we hone in on that even more, like, what do you say when you're judging these projects coming through? What is the most crucial factor that you're looking at? You gave us a few of the kind of overarching ones, but was there a single one that stands up to you personally the most?
I wouldn't say that there's a single one. It's kind of a combination of a lot of different factors that, relate to, the team, the founder profile. I mean, we're investing in bringing in teams to the accelerator at a very early stage, earlier than most even accelerators, right? Where you kind of, for most like at least seed stage investors, at this point, you need to at least have like a mainnet product and probably some usage of that product to get looked at, versus you've been working on this thing for like, tops a couple months and, you've gone to DevNet maybe. And so just the founding team is just so important, and understanding how quickly they can ship, their competitive drive. And so a lot of those factors. And then obviously there's like the market that people are going after. While teams are going to pivot inevitably a lot, going after a market is, that is interesting and that is ripe for disruption, or to forge a completely new market. That's what crypto is really all about, is like using the technology to create new markets that couldn't have existed before. That's also very interesting to us. And so we kind of express our interest in those markets based on the tracks that we implement during the hackathon. So there's stalwarts like, DeFi and gaming, but then we add, new tracks as we get excited about certain verticals, like DePIN is the hot one right now. And so, we'll continue to evolve those tracks over time as use cases come out.
Yeah, like it's exciting to see what sort of blue oceans these founders can like figure out and be able to like tap into. When you're looking at like these new projects coming through, because we've done quite a few of these hackathons over the last couple of years, are there any specific like demographic geos that are kind of like speaking out to outside of the US, which is predominantly quite strong whenever Solana has these sort of activations? Are there any that are like shining forward that you've kind of noticed, like there's a lot of superstars hiding here?
Well, there's certainly, in the last hackathon, there were some great ones out of the UK, and partly that's due to your guys' efforts as a super team there. And so, I think in the last hackathon, there were 200 countries represented in the submissions. And even of the winners, there was something like over 30, countries represented, even in just the winners. A long tail of people like from Malaysia or Singapore or China or, wherever it is, that there's usually a couple really strong teams from all those markets. India is another really strong market. I think, it mirrors the global nature of crypto, right? Like there's so many talented people. And and this is like one of the purposes of why we're running the hackathon, is we want it to be sort of this global talent search, where if you have an internet connection, no matter where you live, if you have like a really strong team and a strong idea and your ability to execute shows in that hackathon, you can get the support you need to get it off the ground.
And that's an awesome mission that you guys have been able to wrap behind. Like, how do you see this like next decade for Colosseum start to come forward? Like, what's your vision for the entire project? It's
hard to plan more than a couple weeks out in crypto, let alone like a decade. But I think, we definitely want Colosseum to be a place that a lot of new founders feel that they're getting value out of pre-hackathon, right? In terms of like being able to find really strong, matches in terms of co-founders, find interesting ideas that personally affect them, that they can go solve through the forum and pressure test ideas through that forum, and then obviously get the opportunity to go compete in the world's largest hackathon. I think that's something that we want to see more of. We want to see people really compete in these hackathons, make it a really competitive process, because we think that that'll result in a lot better products downstream for end users and onboard obviously a lot more users on chain. And so, we feel that Colosseum can play a pretty big role in that, specifically in the Solana ecosystem. And as Solana becomes more dominant in the world, we feel that it's going to be an important part of that.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm excited from our super team side to be able to be following all of our top projects through Colosseum, help do our part in making it as big as it can. And I know the super teams across the world in our 12 different regions are pushing on strong. I think it's going to be exciting, this next hackathon coming up.
Yeah, and I can't say enough about the super team effort. Like, the build stations that you have run in Germany, and there were a few other pop-ups last time, I think in Philippines and Malaysia and India. Like, those really help, give people, the space and the connections that they need to go compete in these events. So, the super team has done a great job in terms of like spreading the gospel about Solana around the world and getting, promising builders to go compete in the hackathons and even outside the hackathons, right? Like, there's, obviously we're focused on this specific funnel of getting talented founders to go compete, but there's talented founders who are not competing in the hackathons that have built really, really awesome projects. And so, awesome work to Super Team and all the work that you guys have been doing.
Awesome. Matty, I appreciate your time here to be able to jump on. I've been Cap, your little host for this one. Matty, I appreciate everything you've been able to do. I think it's been a really cool interview. I'm looking forward to the next hackathon coming up the 4th of March. So yeah, we're going to be ready to rock and roll.
Awesome. Thanks, man.
Cheers.